Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna,
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, everybody. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji
Hare Krishna,
and everybody.
Hare Krishna.
Prabhuji.
Okay, so can we have a volunteer for?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna, Jyoti Mataji.
I can recite English.
Jyoti Mataji can do English. Anybody for Sanskrit?
I can do Prabhuji Sanskrit today.
Rajshri Mataji, wonderful. Thank you so much. Okay,
No problem.
let me just share the screen for you.
Okay. From 22, isn't it, Prabhuji?
Yes, 22 onwards. Thank you.
Okay. Okay.
Okay. So you can go whenever you're ready.
Is anyone doing Sanskrit?
Yes, I was on mute, sorry.
Okay. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Text 22. Vedanam Samvedo Asmi, Devanam Asmi Vashava, Indriyanam Manaschasmi, Bhutanam Asmi Chetana.
Of the Vedas, I am the Samaveda. Of the demigods, I am Indra, the king of heaven. Of the senses, I am the mind. And in living beings, I am the living force, consciousness.
Rudranam Shankrastasmi, Vittesho Yaksha Rakshasam, Vasunam Pavakastasmi, Meru Shikhiranam Aham.
Of all the Rudras, I am Lord Shiva. Of the Yakshas and the Rakshasas, I am the Lord of Wealth, Kuvera. Of the Vasus, I am Fire, Agni. And of mountains, I am Meru.
Text 24. Purudhasham cha mukhyam mam vidhi partha bhraspatim senaninam aham skanda sarasham asmi sagara.
Of priest, O Arjun, know me to be the chief, Brihaspati. Of generals, I am Kartikeya, and of the bodies of water, I am the ocean.
Text 25. Maharishinam bhigur aham girim asmi ekam aksharam yagnanam jap yagno asmi stavaranam himalaya.
Of the great sages, I am Bhrigu. Of vibrations, I am the transcendental Om. Of sacrifices, I am the chanting of the holy names Jap. And of immovable things, I am the Himalayas.
Text 26. Ashwatha sarva vrikshanam devrishinam cha narada gandharvanam chitratha siddhanam kapilo muni.
Of all trees, I am the banyan tree, and of the sages among the demigods, I am Narada. Of the Gandharvas, I am Chitraratha, and among perfected beings, I am the sage Kapila.
Text 27. Ucche shavasam ashvanam vidhi mam amrito bhavam Aravatam Gajendranam Naranam cha Naradhipam.
Of horses, know me to be Uchishrava, produced during the churning of the ocean for nectar. Of lordly elephants, I am Airavata, and among men, I am the monarch.
Text 28. Ayudhanam aham vajram dhenunam asmi kamadhu pragnas chasmi kandarpa sarpanam asmi vasuki.
Of weapons, I am the thunderbolt. Among cows, I am the Surabi. Of causes for procreation I am Kandarpa, the god of love, and of serpents I am Vasuki.
Text 29. Anantastasmi naganam varuno yadasam aham pitranam aryama achasmi yama samyamatam aham.
Of the many-hooded Nagas I am Ananta, and among the aquatics I am the demigod Varuna. Of departed ancestors I am Aryama, and among the dispensers of law I am Yama, the lord of death.
Text 30. Praladastasmi daityanam kala kalayatam aham mriganam cha mrigendro aham vanitatyascha pakshinam.
Among the Daityas demons I am the devoted Prahlad, among subduers I am Time, among beasts I am the lion, and among birds I am Garuda.
Text 31. Pavna pavatam asmi Rama shastrabhritam aham jhasanam makrastasmi Shrota sam asmi janavi.
Of purifiers I am the wind, of the wielders of weapons I am Ram, of fishes I am the shark, and of flowing rivers I am the Ganges.
Text 32. Sarganam adi antascha madhyam cha chaivaham arjuna adhyatma vidya vidyanam vada pravadatam aham.
Of all creations I am the beginning and the end and also the middle. O Arjun, of all sciences I am the spiritual science of the self, and among logicians I am the conclusive truth.
Text 33. Aksharanam akaro asmi dvandva samanshikasya cha aham evakasya kalo dhata aham vishwato mukha.
Of letters I am the letter A, and among compound words I am the dual compound. I am also inexhaustible time, and of creators I am Brahma.
Text 34. Mrityu sarvharastaham udbhavascha bhavishyatam kirti srivak chanarinam smriti medha dhriti shama.
I am all-devouring death, and I am the generating principle of all that is yet to be. Among women I am fame, fortune, fine speech, memory, intelligence, steadfastness, and patience.
Text 35. Brihit sama tatha samnam Gayatri chandasam aham Masanam margashishyoham Ritunam kusumakara.
Of the hymns in the Samavedas, I am the Brihatsama, and of poetry, I am the Gayatri. Of months, I am Margashisha, November, December, and of seasons, I am flower-bearing spring.
Text 36. Dyutam chalayatam asmi Tejas tejasvinamaham Jyo asmi vivyasva asmi Sattvam sattvatam aham.
I am also the gambling of cheats, and of the splendid, I am the splendor. I am victory, I am adventure, and I am the strength of the strong.
Text 37. Vrishninam Vasudeva Asmi Pandavanam Dhananjaya Muninam Api Aham Vyasa Kavinam Ushana Kavi.
Of the descendants of Vrishni I am Vasudev, and of the Pandavas I am Arjun. Of the sages I am Vyas, and among great thinkers I am Ushana.
Text 38. Dando Damayatam Asmi Nitir Asmi Digitasam Monam Chavasmi Guhanam Jnanam Jnanavatam Aham.
Among all means of suppressing lawlessness I am punishment, and of those who seek victory I am morality. Of secret things I am silence, and of the wise I am the wisdom.
Text 39. Yachapi sarvabhutanam bijam tad aham arjuna natad asti vina yatsyan maya bhutam characharam.
Furthermore, O Arjun, I am the generating seed of all existences. There is no being moving or non-moving that can exist without me.
Text 40. Nanto asti mam divyanam vibhutinam parantapa esha tu udeshita prokto vibhutir vistaro maya.
O mighty conqueror of enemies, there is no end to my divine manifestations. What I have spoken to you is but a mere indication of my infinite opulences.
Text 41. Yadhyad vibhuti matsatvam shrimad urjitam evava tadad eva gachatvam mam ditejo asma sambhavam.
Know that all opulent, beautiful, and glorious creations spring from but a spark of my splendor.
Text 42. Athava bahunetena kim gyatena tavarjuna vishtabhyam idam kritsnam ekanshana sthito jagat.
But what need is there, Arjun, for all this detailed knowledge? With a single fragment of myself, I pervade and support this entire universe. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Om Tat Sat iti Srimad Bhagavad Gita Supanishadsu Brahma Vidya Yoga Shastre Shri Krishna Arjun Samvade Vibhuti Yogo Nama Dashmo Adhyaya. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much, both of you, Raj Mataji and Jyoti Mataji. Very nice pronunciation for Sanskrit. Thank you. Okay.
Thank you, Prabhu.
So let me share. Hare Krishna. Okay, finally got it. So continue reading chapter 10, Bhagavad Gita, chapter a day. A summary as usual. The opulence of the Absolute, that's the title of this chapter. Summary so far. 1 to 7, understanding Krishna's nobility and serving him. 8 to 11, the wonderful Chatur-shloki Gita. 12 to 18, how Arjuna accepts Krishna's position completely, and then he requests for more, to hear more about Krishna's opulences. And now this current section, which is the last section, Krishna is going through his opulences. Of course, Krishna says this is not this is just a fraction of my opulences, because my opulences are unlimited. So we come to the verse today. Text 31. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. 10:31. Pranavapavatam asmi Rama Shastra Bhritam aham Jasanam Makarashchasmi Shrotasam Asmi Janavi. Of the purifiers, I am the wind. Of the wielders of weapons, I am Rama. Of fishes, I am the shark. And of flowing rivers, I am the Ganges. Translation was, of course, by Srila Prabhupada, and purport by Srila Prabhupada, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Of all the aquatics, the shark is one of the biggest, and is certainly the most dangerous to man. Thus, the shark represents Krishna. So this is one of the shortest purports that I've ever come across. So we'll try and discuss some of the points on this verse and the purport. Om Ajnanati Mirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Charu Swaminiti Namine. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swaminiti Namine. Namaste Saraswate Devi Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Sunnivadi Pashata Deshatarine. Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadada Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So like I was saying, very, very short purport, but let's see how far we can get with it. So let's look at the main points. So he's saying, first of all, of the purifiers, I am the wind. So let's see how does the wind purify? Can anybody contribute? How does the wind purify?
Is it to inhale and exhale?
Yes, I suppose yes. By inhaling fresh air, we are exhaling the stale air from the lungs, so purifying the lungs. That's true. Yes, I hadn't picked on that one. Thank you. Anything else?
Also, the wind dries things, helps to dry things.
That's
Stale.
true. Yeah. So if it's drying things, then of course it's purifying at the same time. Yeah, that's a good one as well. Thank you, Emma Mataji.
Blow away the dust from.
Yes, yeah.
Blow-
Something coming up. Blow away the dust.
Cloud.
Yes, blow away the dust. That also cleanses and purifies things. What I had actually was blow away odor as well, right? Because wind
Yeah.
blows away bad smell. Anything else? Anybody else?
Also, when the room is locked or a house is locked, and the first thing we do is open the window to get the air in. Is that
Exactly. Fresh air. That's it. Exactly. That's what the air, the wind actually does. It exchanges the air within the room and thus purifies it.
Circulation.
The main thing is oxygen.
Yes.
It comes from the trees, green trees,
Exactly. So that's so the trees give out oxygen, and they take in carbon dioxide. The human beings, or all the living entities, we are giving out carbon dioxide, taking in oxygen.
Yeah.
It has made this wonderful arrangement.
Absolutely.
That the trees are giving us. If the trees were also taking in oxygen and not giving it out, then you can imagine the world would soon dry up and there'd be no more oxygen left. So this amazing arrangement has been made not by accident, but made by the Lord. Yes. So then, of course, the trees are giving out oxygen, but the action of the wind is that wind then moves across the oxygen to all of us. So very good. The other thing that the wind will do is it'll blow away the pollution. If you see that for sometimes when there's absolutely no wind in the atmosphere, the pollution will just sit there and it'll be very, very heavy. But when it's a windy day, everything blows away and everything is clear. You can see the sky is clear. I lived in Hong Kong for a few years. We lived in Hong Kong for a few years, and Hong Kong is, of course, very, very congested, very polluted. And there are days where you couldn't even see the sky. It was so heavy. But as soon as the wind came, then it would just clear up very easily. More so than Hong Kong. Some of the cities in China are very, very polluted. Hong Kong, because it's on the sea, of course, it quite often is windy. But yeah, so wind blows away pollution. So these are the purifying effects of the wind that Krishna is talking about. Then we can talk about what are the other benefits of the wind. I just need to see who's unmuted, and I will mute them.
What about the birds? They don't fly without the wind, I suppose. And the aeroplanes.
Yes, the aeroplane use the wind for their takeoff and for their thrust. Yes, exactly. The wings of the planes are designed in such a way that they assist the plane to take off. Yeah, that's good.
Even the flying balloons, the flying balloons.
Yeah, the flying balloons, actually, they wouldn't move without the wind. Yes, so it helps that activity, correct?
Is Pavan Putra Hanuman?
Yes, we will speak about him in a while, yes.
Generate electricity with wind turbines?
Very good, yes. So with the wind moves the turbines to generate electricity. Yeah, so many advantages, and most of them I didn't catch. But one important.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji.
Sheep and goats are.
The wind is also part of the air, isn't it? So without air, we cannot breathe.
So when we speak of wind, we actually include air. So wind and air is interchangeable. Yes, thank you.
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Yes.
Prabhu, our body is also,
Then will be the last one will be open. It's not a big deal.
Sorry, Prabhu Mataji, I just muted.
That our human body is also made of the air and water.
Yes, air is one of the elements. All the bodies are made of air, ether, earth, etc., water, and like that. So yes, but one main benefit in terms of the wind is it moves the clouds. So again, just like we spoke about the amazing arrangement that the Lord has made for our maintenance, the Lord has given. We spoke about the trees giving out oxygen for our benefit, and look at this: the sun evaporates the water from the seas, right? Seas and oceans. And this generally tends to be salty water, which is not fit for consumption or for irrigation. But by the Lord's arrangement, the sun's heat will evaporate the water. And in that process of evaporation, actually the water is being distilled. So the pure water comes up to the atmosphere, into the clouds. And then the wind, if it wasn't for the wind to move the clouds around, to bring them over the land so that we can benefit from the rain. Imagine the evaporation would go up, just stay over the oceans, and then without the wind, it would just rain over the oceans. So we wouldn't get any benefit of it. So the wind moves the clouds around, and this is how we get our fresh water. And rainwater, as it is coming down from the clouds, it is completely pure. It is just as it gets into the atmosphere of ours, it gets contaminated by various pollutants. So this is one big benefit. The other one is it disperses the seeds and pollen. So the wind plays a very important part in terms of the vegetation, because by the wind, all of these things are getting moved around, and we get what's the term? Germination.
Pollination,
exactly. So pollination happens in two ways. One happens by the bees, because when the bees go for the pollen, then they carry it from one plant to the other. And the other way is when in this case, this particular it looks like dandelion, right? We see in our gardens quite a lot. And the wind will blow away these little seedlets, and they have their own little wings, and they'll fly and they'll land somewhere else where it starts to grow. So again, without the wind, this would not happen. Then anything else anybody can think of? There's lots of things that the wind does.
Prabhu, I think the wind does not ever get contaminated.
Yes, yes. So that's also coming later, Prabhina Mataji. The wind is not contaminated. We'll come to that in a second.
I thought that inside the minds, going back to the body, wind in the body, the mind moves because of the winds, energy of the wind, I think. Because in the Brahma Muhurta time, our mind is quite still because the wind isn't as active, and it's the same outside as well. There's not a lot of wind blowing at that time.
Okay. Yeah, Gita Mataji, that's interesting. As somebody else mentioned before, our body contains different kinds of air. There are 5 kinds of air, 5 main kinds of air in the body: prana, vyana, samana, apana, udana. So these are the kind of air. So these airs, which you mentioned, are moving around the body and also, of course, into the mind. And this is how we're getting our stability from. Within in the Ayurvedic treatment situation, if you go to a doctor with some ailment, they will check you for the balance of these airs, and if there's imbalance, we will feel ill in mentally as well as physically. So they can do things to fix the balance of these airs. So yes, very important part of our body, and how also for the mind. Thank you, Gata Mataji. So go on, yes.
Does the wind create jobs?
Jobs?
Like, like industries and, source of energy it is used. So it creates job, doesn't it?
Okay.
For
yeah,
people.
So, all right. Yes. So because there's industry utilizing the power of wind in those industries, it creates employment. Yes. Fair enough. That's a good point, Bhagavad Mataji. Yeah.
Thank you.
Simple things like drying your washing on the line.
Oh, of course. Yes, exactly.
Yes, it blows it and it dries it in no time.
That's it. On a windy day, we put the clothes out, they will be dry in very, very short time. Exactly.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah. So amazing amount of utility that the wind has got in our life. So then Vayu is what's the name of, he's a demigod in charge of wind. And he's considered to be one of the most powerful demigods. He's the image of Vayu that I found on the net. So in terms of powerful personalities connected to Vayu, anybody think of anybody? Somebody just mentioned the personality.
Hanuman.
Exactly.
Hanumanji.
Expansion of Yasdev is Vayu Putra actually, so he is Hanumanji. Anybody else you can think of?
Bhim.
Well done. Bhima is the son of Vayudev. As we know, the pastime goes that Kunti Devi had the benediction to invoke any of the demigods to give her a blessing, so she would have a child, a son. And this blessing was given to her by who? Anybody remember?
Durvasa Muni.
Durvasa Muni.
Yes, Durvasa Muni gave that benediction, because when Durvasa Muni came to stay with King Kunti Bhoj, Kunti Devi looked after him very, very well, and just as because of that, he was very pleased and gave her that boon, not just for the sake of giving the boon, because Durvasa Muni, being a very powerful Muni, they're called the Trikal Yagya. So he knew also that in future Kunti will need this boon, because as you will remember, when Pandu was cursed by the sage, what's the name of the sage who was killed by Pandu in an accident? Kindam Muni, when he was killed accidentally by Pandu, he was cursed that he will also die if he comes close to any of his wives to unite with them. and this is why he was lamenting that he will have no children to carry on the legacy, the kingdom. And then at that time, Kunti reveals her boon that was given to her, and this is how Bhima. First of all, Yudhishthira, then Bhima, then Arjuna, and then Sahadev and Nakula. This is how they appeared from different demigods. So then, and one more from in our line is Madhvacharya. Madhvacharya, he appeared in our line in the Gaudiya Vaishnava, Madhva Gaudiya. That's why I call Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava, Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Vaishnava. This is where we are. So in 13th century, Madhvacharya appeared in our line, and he is also supposed to be the expansion of Vayudev. Very powerful personality, as a very powerful preacher. And the name of Madhvacharya appears. Look at our Bhagavad Gita on the page just after the introduction, where there is the parampara system shown, starting from Krishna and then Brahma, and then Madhvacharya appears about fifth on that line. So there's Madhava as a Madhavacharya and Madhvacharya. This is Madhvacharya without the mark on the A. So this is why you Lord.
Hare Krishna Prabhu.
Yes.
Can you explain who is who, Madhvacharya and Madhvacharya? Madhvacharya belongs to which sampradaya?
Okay.
And
so Madhvacharya and Madhvacharya, both of them belong to the Brahma Sampradaya. You know, the four Sampradayas, Brahma Sampradaya, Shri Sampradaya, Rudra Sampradaya, and Kumara Sampradaya. So our lineage is in the Brahma Sampradaya. And is more detailed title of that Sampradaya is called Brahma Madhva Gaudiya Sampradaya. Gaudiya is a region of Calcutta. This is where it started from, where Chaitanya Mahaprabhu appeared in Navadvip. So in not Calcutta, but in what's it's called the region, Bengal region, right? So that's the other name of Bengal. In the ancient name of Bengal is Gaudiya Desh. So Madhvacharya appears very early on in that line. And much later on in that line, we have Madhvacharya. Madhvacharya, he is the Acharya, he is the God, he's the, how do you call it? He's the...
Pushti Marg?
Not in Pushti Marg. He's in our line, Madhvacharya. But his name appears in Pushti Marg as well, because he's the one who actually found or the Gopala deity, which is the Shinaji at the moment.
Yeah, very true.
In the Pushti Marga, and Madhvacharya is the one who actually found this deity. He came in his dream, isn't it? This is the dream, and then Madhvacharya goes traveling. But he is in this line, yes.
so one is in Udupi as well. I don't know who it is, Madhvacharya or Madhvacharya.
Udupi is Madhvacharya.
Oh, so not our Madhvacharya. Okay.
Yeah, yes, sir. But Madhvacharya is also in our line, so both are in our line.
Okay, thank you.
So, moving on. So in the Uddhava Gita, 11th canto of Bhagavatam, there is a pastime of King Yadu meeting an Avaduta. This Avaduta is not different from Dattatreya. And this is the picture of Dattatreya. And he mentions 24 gurus. You must be familiar with this pastime, where he mentions he learns so many different things from so many gurus. Can anybody name any of the gurus that this Avaduta mentioned?
The wind,
Spider.
Yes.
One is a pigeon, snake,
Spider,
pigeon, the
prostitute.
Yeah, Pingala.
Pingala.
Pingala, the prostitute, yes.
And the sun.
Sun, yeah.
And
the moon.
The tree.
Yes, the tree. The wasp.
The girl and the bangles.
The girl, that's the girl, yes, the bangles.
Was there a bee? Bee as well, I think.
Yes, bee.
There was a bee.
The elephant.
The elephant, yes.
Elephant, yes.
Pastimes, and in our Guru Maharaj, Bhakti Charu Maharaj, 2 or 3 times he's done the Uddhava Gita seminars, and over 4 or 5 days we would listen to him going through all these different.
Last one.
Yeah, it's just amazing. So yes, so one of the top, first was Prithvi, second one he mentions is air. So Vayu. So he mentions that as being one of his gurus. And this is somebody else has recently mentioned also on this call about the wind, what it does. But so here, the wind remains pure and odorless. I'm not sure. I think Pamela Mataji may have mentioned this. The wind remains pure and odorless in its characteristics. So when the wind is going over, air is passing over a flower garden, it'll pick up molecules of the flowers, and we will have a nice aroma. But the wind itself remains untouched by that. It's just those molecules are picked up there. So, but wind itself doesn't. It moves freely. Other characteristics of the wind moves freely along all objects, and yet remains not affected. It will find its own path. You can't stop it. Somebody's microphone is on. I'm just going to see who it is. Okay, found it. So, yeah. So just as Krishna controls the whole material creation through his external energy, but he himself remains aloof. Similarly, the wind, although it goes over dirty things or nice fragrant things, and it picks up the molecules just to transfer it over. That's one of his characters. But it itself is never polluted. This is the thing. The wind always remains pure in itself. So the teaching here for us is just like the wind. We must remain free. Whilst we are in this material world, we are surrounded by all kinds of contaminants. We got lots of things going on around us, but we should live the life like the wind. And whilst we have to deal with these things, the wind has to deal with the fragrances that are coming, good or bad. So that continues to happen. But whilst it's dealing with it, it's not being affected by itself. So similarly, we have to deal with whatever's happening in our life, but not get mentally attached to it, not get affected by it, so that our sadhana doesn't get disturbed by it. So this is how we can take this example of the wind, that it remains, it leaves us like the other example people give is the lotus flower. The lotus flower may grow in a very dirty pond, but it remains completely pure. It remains completely aloof of all the dirt in that pond. So this is the teaching that the wind gives us. So when the air blows out of control, the atmosphere becomes agitated. So it's just like us. When things around us are out of control, when things are not going according to our plan, we also get agitated and our mind gets disturbed. So this is the kind of wind. When it gets a hurricane or something, you can see there's a lot of disturbance, trees falling over, buildings falling apart. Similarly, our mind, when we let the thoughts or the circumstances disturb us, unlike the wind, where it doesn't, it just carries it and it doesn't itself get affected. So similarly, when our mind gets disturbed, we are not able to focus. There's a very famous verse in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita talking about the wind and in comparison to the mind. Does anybody know that verse? Very famous verse. When he's talking about
Mana Krishna, something like that.
Very good. Who was that? I didn't see the name.
Rupa
Mataji. So he was very, very exalted devotees here. Yes. So this is the verse 634. Chanchalam hi mana Krishna pramati balavadridam tasyaham nigraham manye vayur eva suduskaram. So when Krishna is telling Arjuna to control the mind, because sixth chapter is about Dhyana Yoga, and Krishna is going through all the different processes of controlling the mind. So Arjuna is saying, Krishna, the mind is restless, turbulent, obstinate, and very strong, O Krishna. And to subdue it, I think, is more difficult than controlling the wind. So the wind cannot be controlled. The wind will find its own way through. You can't control it. So if, like this, we can remember Krishna every time we think about the wind in any we've discussed so many different ways how the wind plays part in our lives. So in any one of those situations, we can take this, we can remember this and say, Krishna is saying that of the purifiers, I am the wind. So in any form of the wind, we can try and remember the wind. Whenever we're in the garden and we see the leaves moving on the trees, we know that those leaves are moving around because of the breeze, and that breeze is Krishna. Right? So this way, whole idea of this particular section of Srimad Bhagavad Gita, of the opulences of Krishna, is so we can actually remember him by all these different things. So this is how we can remember Krishna through the wind. Then he says, of the wielders of weapon, I am Rama. So Lord Ramchandra, the most powerful, one of the most powerful warriors on earth. His bow was one of the deadliest weapons, and he was able to defeat Ravana, such a powerful demon, with his bow. So of the wielders of weapon, I'm Rama. Important thing about Rama is that Rama never utilized his weapon for anything evil. His weapons were only used for the good. So in that sense, he's a perfect wielder of weapons. The other, can anybody think of any other Rama?
Balaram.
Balaram, well done.
And Parshuram.
Parshuram.
Yes.
Parshuram.
We take Balaram first. So Lord Balaram, again, very, very powerful personality. He's no different from Supreme Lord himself. But yes, once again, he is his weapon is the hoe, right? And he uses that weapon. One particular pastime that I remembered was when Krishna's son Shamba, he kidnaps one of Duryodhana's daughters. I think it was Duryodhana's daughter, called Lakshmana. And when he was trying to get away, he was captured by Duryodhana's men, and he was then imprisoned. And when king of what was his name? Kansa's father, what's his name?
Ugrasen.
Ugrasena.
Sorry, I always completely went my mind went blank. King Ugrasen heard about it. He wanted to declare war on the Kauravas, but then Balaram said, "No, don't worry, let me go. I will sort this out." So he goes to Hastinapur, and he speaks to the Kauravas, and he says, "We must not fight. Let's, So and these people, they didn't agree, and they insulted Balaram. Balaram got so angry that with this weapon, he actually drags the whole city of Hastinapur towards the Ganga, threatening to drown it. So this was how much power he had. He could just with this thing, with a weapon, he can actually wield. He can literally drag the whole city with that. The other, of course, he was also a very powerful user of the mace, and he's the one who actually taught the art of fighting with a mace to Duryodhana. And that's why he was always, because Duryodhana was his shishya, he always a little bit inclined towards Duryodhana. And then somebody mentioned Parshuram. So Parshuram, Baldev Vidyabhushan, Shri Baldev Vidyabhushan says actually Ram referred in this particular verse. So, you can take Ram in any particular way we will take it, Lord Ram Ayodhya, or Balaram, or it can be Parshuram. So Parshuram here, what Srila Baladev Vidyabhushan explaining is that because Krishna is talking about his vibhutis, not his incarnation. Lord Ram is an incarnation, or Lord Ram is the Lord himself. So it's not the vibhuti. Lord Ram would not be a vibhuti. This is his understanding and his explanation. Because he's talking about the vibhuti, he says maybe it more applies to Parshuram, because Parshuram is a living entity empowered to wield weapons. Parshuram is a son of Jamadagni and Renuka. Jamadagni was a very, very pious Brahmana, but Renuka was a Kshatriya. So because of that, Parshuram had also the Kshatriya blood in him. And there's a pastime where the Kshatriyas at that time had become very proud, and they were dishonoring the Brahmanas. Usually the Kshatriyas would respect the Brahmanas and take advice, but these particular set of Kshatriyas had become very proud, and they were ignoring the Brahmanas. And one time there was a misunderstanding, and the Brahmanas, the Kshatriyas, beheaded Jamadagni, Parshuram's father. And Parshuram, for that reason, Parshuram got very, very annoyed, and he then wiped out the Kshatriyas 21 times. This is the pastime. This is the story. This is how you can see he's wielding his weapon. So he is of the wielders of weapons. Krishna says, "Am Ram." So it could be Balaram, or Lord Ram, Ramchandra, or Parshuram. It could be any one of them. Right? So then Krishna says, "Of the fishes, I am the shark." So the shark is the most powerful aquatic, most feared. Prabhupada just uses in that single line of purport. He says the shark is most feared, and he's the most powerful fish. So the Lord is there. So anytime you think about the shark, you see a shark in the picture, you can think of the Lord, because that's how it is. There's a nice story I heard recently when I was listening to a class, and this person was talking about devotees, early devotees. And in Australia, there was a devotee who joined the ashram and stayed in the ashram for a few weeks. This devotee used to be he used to like surfing a lot in Australia and New Zealand, and as you know, they love surfing on surfboards. So while he was in the ashram, he was busy for after a few weeks, he thought, I haven't been out on the sea for a long time, so let me just go. And he just went, he said, I'll take a weekend off and I'll go surfing. So he just went, he didn't tell anybody, because he realized that the devotees would not appreciate the fact that he wanted to go away from his service just for surfing. So he went surfing, and he was a very good surfer anyway. So while he was in the middle of the sea, just doing it on the waves, suddenly he sees a fin come up. So it's a shark. He's coming closer to him, and then he's hoping against hope that he was just ignore him, go away. He remains still, tries to not make any splashes or whatever. But the shark comes closer and closer, and then he starts to circle him. Yeah, this is what the sharks do. When they see a prey, they start circling. So the shark is circling, and they're circling, and it's getting closer, and the circle is getting smaller and smaller. And this devotee, because he's been in the temple for a few weeks, he knows the prayers, so he starts chanting the Maha Mantra. He starts chanting all the different prayers he knows. But the shark keeps coming closer and closer, closer and closer. In the end, he was only literally 2 or 3 yards away from him. It was still circling. And there was no way out. He was going to be dead. But then this devotee starts to scream the Narasimha prayers. And he starts, Namaste Narasimhaya Praladana. And somehow, I don't know how, the shark starts to move away. And the shark left him. The devotee is shaking, whole body shaking, comes out of the water, goes back to the temple. So the temple, the devotees there, the commanders ask, well, what happened? You disappeared for the whole day. And says, no, don't worry about it. But one thing I will never do, I'm never going to leave the temple now. This is the devotee's experience with the shark. And he became such a good devotee, he never went back to surfing again. Then the last thing he mentions is Ganga. Of the flowing rivers, I am Ganga. So Ganga, of course, we know, very one of the most pious rivers. Beautiful verse in the 12th canto of 13:16. Anybody know this verse, glorifying Ganga? Actually, the verse is glorifying Bhagavatam, but mention Ganga. Nimnanga nam yatha Ganga, Devanam achyuta yatha, Vaishnavanam yatha Shambhu, Purananam Adam idam tatha. So just as Ganga is the greatest of all rivers, Lord Achyuta, the supreme among deities, and Lord Shambhu, Shiva, the greatest of Vaishnavas, so Srimad Bhagavatam is the greatest of all Puranas. So many great sages have performed austerities on its banks and adding the holiness. So when we go and take a bath, it is said that we are washed off all our sins. So we go and leave our sins in the Ganga. But what these great personalities, the wonderful exalted devotees, when they go and then when they worship on the banks of the Ganga, when they take the bath in the Ganga, they actually help the Ganga wash off all the sins that we've left there. So this is the power of the Ganga and power of the devotees. I was going to speak, at the time's running away, but I was going to speak about how the Ganga descends. Anybody can recognize this picture?
Vamandev.
Exactly. So Ganga descends into the world by the toe of Vamandev piercing the material covering, and the Ganga descends like that. And there's another way how it's explained how Ganga descends. It is the pastime about the 60,000 sons of King, I think, Sagara. They disturbed Lord Kapila when he was meditating, and Lord Kapila, then just by his glance, he gets very angry craze. He burns the 60,000 sons of King Sagara into ash. And then later on in that dynasty, King Bhagirath wants to avenge, and then he finds out that the only way he can bring back those 60,000 sons, or his, those are sons of Sagara, but his ancestors, was to bring Ganga down to earth. He then meditates for many years, gets the boon that he can get the Ganga down. He brings the Ganga down, but because the force of Ganga was so much, he could have destroyed everything. So then he requests, you can see sitting in this picture, requesting Lord Shiva to take the force of the Ganga on his head. And this is how Ganga appears. So these are some of the thoughts on this particular verse. We can now just...
Hare Krishna, Prabhu.
Hare Krishna.
I'm not sure, Prabhu, I've got the correct information, but like when the Ganga came down, the Shiva said he's going to hold on his Ganga on his head, and then Ganga got proud or something, and the Shiva just put it in his head, in his jeta?
Yes, that's right, that's true. That's true.
Okay.
Just to show Ganga that he is more powerful, so he actually was able to hold Ganga on his jata before then, later on releasing it. That's true.
Oh,
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Prabhu. Thank you.
Prabhuji, is there a connection between Ganga and Lord Vishnu? They say it flows from his feet as well?
Yeah, feet meaning, because Vamadev is an expansion of Lord Vishnu, right? Vamadev is incarnation of Vishnu. So because of his toe, so that's why it's Ganga Jal, because it's Charnamrit, because the Ganga flows from this toe, right? Let me just share that slide again if I can. Yeah, see the picture that I showed you where the toe is touching the... Stop share. Let's start share. Wait a second. Just bear with me a second. I'm just trying to get this to work. Yeah, so this first picture where you see Vamandev. Vamandev is no different from Vishnu. So Vamandev, because the Ganga flows from his toe, that's why it is from his. That's why it's Ganga. Ganga is literally Charnamrita. Makes sense? In this verse, the Ganga's name is Jahnavi. So does anybody know how that name comes, Jahnavi?
She the daughter of sage Janu?
Yes. Very good. Who was that? Again, I didn't see the name. My screen's not working properly.
Bhagavati.
Bhagavati Mother, yes, exactly. There was the sage called Sage Janu, and he got annoyed and he cursed. He cursed
Ganga, turbulent water.
Exactly. And then after the demigods, they pleaded for him to see. Actually, what he did was he swallowed Ganga. The sage was so powerful, he actually swallowed Ganga, and because it was disturbing him. And then the demigods, they pleaded to him, and then he released Ganga through his ears. And because it came from him, that's why it was Jahnavi. That's why his name is Jahnavi. Jahnavi Tattavani Jagamanalobha. We sing that every day, don't we?
Very nice.
Okay. So, yeah. Anything else, anybody?
Hare Krishna Prabhuji.
Hare Krishna Mataji.
On one of the slides, it says Krishna is explaining his vibhutis. What exactly, what does that mean, his vibhuti?
Vibhuti means opulences. So this particular section of Bhagavad Gita, it is talking about Krishna's vibhuti. So his vibhuti means opulences. So he has mentioned to us all the things, the best of all. So best of all the fish is the shark. Best of all the trees is the banyan tree. So best of all the wielders of weapons is Rama. So all those things. So these are the opulences of Krishna. So all these. So what I was saying a few weeks ago on the same thing when we started discussing this particular section was that it is the personalities or the items. So for example, he says of the mountains, I am Mount Meru. Then it's not that the mountain is important or the Meru is important. It is the opulence that Krishna has given it to be the best. So the shark is not important. It's the opulence of being the best aquatic that Krishna has given it. So this is how the vibhuti is important, not the personality or the item.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Are they actually Krishna's manifestations, Prabhu?
So this is, yeah, see if you think about it, these are Krishna's, Krishna, if you talk about Krishna's expansions, explanations, then there is Swa-amsa. There's one category which is Swa-amsa. So Swa-amsa has got two categories. Swa-amsa is Swa-amsa is, one is Vibhuti and other is avatars. Like he would have Shakti. Shakti-avesh. So Shakti-avesh, so for Swa-amsa, the category of Swa-amsa includes Shakti-avesh, avatar, and Vibhuti. So Shakti-avesh would be the personalities. Personalities like Vyasadeva, like Narada Muni, like Bhrigu Muni, like Parshuram here, like Prithu Maharaj. So these are personalities. So these are also said to be Shakti-avesh avatars, right? But then Vibhutis are what we are discussing here, is different prowesses that Krishna gives. So these are the Vibhutis. Anybody else? Okay, we can then move on to the introductions. So we've done quite a lot. So if your name comes up and you've already introduced yourself, you can then just say so, and we can move on. So two people. The first person on my screen now is Premila Mataji. Premila Mataji.